And some of our opinions were not popular.
Adrienne Bailon recently exposed everything that went down during her time on The Real, and it was a lot. She made so many insane reveals about what her time on the show was actually like, and you'll never believe what she said. Adrienne was one of the hosts on The Real right up until the show came to an end with its 8th season, and after the show had ended, Adrienne revealed everything that went down during her time on the show. She started by saying that one of her favorite parts of being on The Real was working with her co-host because they got along so well. She made it seem like they all had so much fun hosting the show together and like there were no negatives to being on the show. But then recently, she gave a lot more interesting details about her time on The Real. When Adrienne first got the opportunity to join The Real, she became the first ever Latina woman to become a daytime talk show host on US television. This was a huge accomplishment, and you'd think it went a long way in showing inclusivity. But the thing is that not everyone agreed with this. Initially, when she found out about this, it was a little bittersweet for her. Adrienne was apparently honored to be the first Latina woman to do this, but at the same time, she was in disbelief. I mean, it was 2013 and no Latina woman had ever hosted a US daytime talk show. Still, Adrienne decided to go along with it, but as time went on, she realized that this was easier said than done. Adrienne revealed that she felt a lot of pressure while being on The Real. Since she was the first Latina woman to host a US daytime talk show, all eyes were on her. She was a stepping stone of sorts, and she didn't want to let anyone down, but at the same time, she wanted to be true to herself. There are obviously a lot of ways to be a Latina woman, and this meant that there was a lot of pressure on Adrienne. She just wanted to be herself on The Real, but not everyone was happy with her. There were a lot of people who had issues with the way she behaved. First, there were complaints that she didn't sound Latina, and then there were also complaints that she didn't look Latina either. And on top of it all, some people even went as far as to saying that she didn't even act Latina. In other words, Adrienne was not the type of woman that some Latina people wanted representing them. Apparently, she was just too urban to represent Latina women. But what most people failed to realize was the fact that Adrienne is an urban Latina woman that was born and raised in New York City. So the way she acted while she was on The Real was just her being herself and nothing else. Still, she was obviously under a lot of pressure because of all this. But despite that, she still apparently had a lot of fun while she was on The Real. According to her, one of her favorite things about being on the show was her dressing room. And it was the first time she'd ever gotten a dressing room all to herself, and she made sure that she made the best of it. She went full out of her dressing room with decor and everything. Her dressing room clearly became an important place for her. According to Adrienne, she and other hosts even drank a lot in her dressing room. They would apparently take shots here and there like it was nobody's business. And what's crazy is that all of this was supposedly happening between takes. And that's not all that she and the other hosts did. Sometimes they even apparently went as far as putting some other drinks in their coffee mugs, if you know what I mean. According to Adrienne, the only reason they did all of this was to let loose and just have some fun. And apparently, all of the times they did this, they had the most fun because they were at their most honest. Not just because they were tipsy or anything, but because that was when they could all relate to each other so well. According to Adrienne, all of this and more just helped build a sense of sisterhood between herself and the other co-hosts. And there's one thing she misses from her time on The Real. It's this. It's all the memories she shared with the other women and all the good times that they had together. In her words, those will forever be her favorite memories. But if there's one thing she will definitely not miss, it's how early she had to get up to be on the show. Apparently back then, she got up at around 4 a.m. every single morning, and that was extremely hard on her. It affected every aspect of her life that you can think of. It affected her social life, her marriage, it affected pretty much everything. But what's weird is that even though her getting up early had negatively affected her marriage, Adrienne's time on The Real in general apparently helped to create a closer bond between her and her husband. According to her, they made so many memories together on the set. Another thing that Adrienne really liked about her time on The Real was the fact that they spoke about justice. They had the platform to speak on a lot of things that were happening, things that other people couldn't always speak about, either because they didn't have the platform or because they didn't have the voice. There were things that were generally being ignored in the mainstream media, and according to her, this is one of the things that she's proudest of when it comes to her time on the show. Even though some of their opinions weren't very popular and sometimes they fell under heated criticism, at the end of the day, she didn't really mind. That said, there were also moments on the show that Adrienne wasn't exactly proud of. Although she didn't exactly say that she regretted anything, she did admit that there were certain things that happened on the show that she wished she'd handled better. One of these instances would be the time she spoke about how she believes everyone lies about washing their hands after using the toilet. She claimed that there are some instances when people use the toilet and forget about washing their hands, like when you wake up in the middle of the night drunk. According to Adrienne, washing your hands is probably the last thing on your mind at that point. But even though Adrienne wished that she might have handled some of the stuff differently, at the end of the day, she also admitted that it wouldn't be as much fun if everyone on The Real always agreed on everything. And she did have a point there. Plus, it's not as if she consciously tried to go against the grain all the time just for fun, but in some instances, like this one, she felt it was necessary. It's clear that Adrienne's time on The Real meant a lot to her. She admitted that she grew as a person, and she's proud of what she achieved while being on the show. But what do you guys think? Did you enjoy The Real, and what are your thoughts on Adrienne? Let me know in the comments below.